I was looking at your art.
Aw.
I think I got an email is what it was the other day. Uh,
Hmm.
you're very good at that. We're going to talk about that because I think I've told people this many, many times. I said, Erin Hanson is the best artist promoter that I've ever met. So, you could have just been a gallerist if you wanted to. You didn't have to, you could have easily been exceptionally successful, I think, just running a gallery and, of other people's stuff, not just your own, but anybody's. And because you figured it out. You figured out all the components, which is amazing. And most of the artists that I know, there are exceptions. You're clearly one of those, but most of them I know, they're good at creating, they're good at focusing on that, but they can't do the other.
Yeah.
So, and there's so much to do. I mean, as we're going
Yeah, that's true.
to discuss, and you're running two galleries, right?
Yep. Hmm. I just opened my, well, I can tell you about this later, but we have an 18,000 square foot place in Oregon now with like 8 employees, and then my gallery in Carmel too.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. 18,000 square feet.
Yep.
And there's a lot of
It's
that toward to have that many, because I mean, you're just one human, right? I mean, you can only produce what you
I'm
can.
one human.
Yeah.
This is true.
We know you do at least one a day.
Yep, I do about one a day. I do have a 2-year-old now, so I've cut back to working only or painting only 5 days a week, and then I spend the 6th day a week just doing administrative actions. But I still try to do about 4 to 5 paintings a week.
Yeah.
Or more if they're the petites. Like I'm actually, you can kind of see here. That little one is a little, I think it's like a 9x12 or 8x10 that I'm gonna wrap up in about an hour.
Yeah, and for those who are listening to this, you can also watch this on YouTube. So you can see that, and you can see the back of her studio. And there's no paintings really back there because she's probably got them all sold. Hopefully.
Yep, I work on just one painting at a time, and it's a great style that I've developed because I'm able to work very directly. In other words, I lay the paint on and I can do it in one sitting and then the painting is done. So I don't work in layers. I don't have to wait for the oil to dry in between or anything like that. It's a very spontaneous, kind of fun style to paint in.
Yes, and there's a name to that you have given it too, right?
Yes, I coined the term open impressionism.
Yes, yeah. So you just start with because you're using a impasto kind of paint style, right? And you're painting directly on layer over layer.
Yes, well, I try not to overlap my brush strokes at all. So I'm literally laying just a single layer of paint on the canvas. And it's always my challenge, my personal challenge to never go over a paint stroke once I've placed it on the canvas. So that means I have to get everything right the first time. But it has a really beautiful effect when it works out correctly. It has kind of a delicate stained glass mosaic kind of effect, which is kind of part of the open impressionism style.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what happens if you do screw up?
Well, I've done about 2,500 paintings now in the style. So I guess I still do make mistakes, but it's more like a learning experience. And then I try to adapt the mistake into the painting and, pretend like I did it intentionally.
Yeah. So you do it like, what's his name? Bob, the joy
Bob
of
Ross.
Bob Ross, the joy of painting.
That's right.
There are no
maybe if I
in
really
life.
get my hair going, I can fully imitate you.
That's what I mean, because that's what he would say. There is no painting mistakes. Everything is meant to happen.
It's true. It's a philosophy I've had to wrap my head around because otherwise, you're always fixing your own paintings and they're never perfect. Because all artists have this impossibly high standard for their artwork, right? And it's like impossible to create that in the physical universe. So you're always fixing it and correcting it, and you hear this term like, "Oh, the painting's never finished." Well, I call BS, and the painting needs to be done. Otherwise, you're never gonna be able to move on. And then what it's always perceived differently by other people. The artist has their high standard or their picture that they have in their imagination of what the painting is supposed to look like. And just because it doesn't achieve that exactly doesn't mean that someone else who doesn't look into my head doesn't still appreciate and love that painting, because they see it from their own point of view and their own experiences and what they think art should be.
Yeah, it's art, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's totally art.
Art's in the eye of the beholder, in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, I'm sure that there are things that I always laugh when I hear that some people interpret like Maynard Dixon painting saying this and that, and I'm thinking, I'm not so sure about that. You know, I mean, we can
so
say
funny.
it, but I don't
know.
know.
Even like Van Gogh, you know, someone sent me this video yesterday about Starry Night, and it was this 45-minute in-depth view into the psyche of Van Gogh and stuff. And I'm just like, you know, he probably just had this cool idea of this beautiful scene and wanted to paint it, you know, which is about as deep as I ever go in my art, you know.
Yeah, and he probably did it in a day.
Yeah, I bet he did. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
so it's not something he
did paint very
contemplated
quickly.
over and over. There are some artists.
Yeah,
that
I found that the more you overwork a painting, the further and further away it gets from that initial kind of, I don't know, how that the art should have, you know?
Well, I find that a lot of artists, I don't know if I should say a lot of artists, but there are a good number of artists who literally cannot, they have a problem knowing when to finish. I'm talking about good artists. And
oh yeah, no, it's
just amazes
a very
me.
common question I get. How to know when to stop painting? Yep. Well,
Ask your art dealer.
Here's what I do.
Ask your art dealer. They'll tell you, yep, it's done. Put it in the box, as soon as it's dried, send it there.
Well, so here's what I've done. This is my successful action. I'll put all the paint down on the canvas.
Yes.
Right. So in other words, all the underpainting is covered more or less. And then I won't even look at it, because also it's usually like starting to get late at night and I'm not thinking as well as clearly. And so I'll just go home, and then I'll come in the next day. And if there's anything that really just jumps out at me as being an error, then fine, I'll go in and fix it. But then I'll just sign the painting. And then once I've signed it, I can no longer make any changes. And it goes into my scan room and it gets scanned, and then it's completed.
I see. And then do you have an inventory number for each painting, and you put it into your log as well?
Yes, I basically use my website, the back end of my website, to track all my paintings. So yeah, we process prints through my website back end and everything.
Yeah, Ed Mell, by the way, uses a mirror behind him to look for things that look odd or something. He says, something will pick up.
That's really smart. You know, another good trick is to take an iPhone picture of the painting and then look at that, because cameras bring out all the worst side of everything, right? And because your eye, the human eye automatically adjusts for things that are too dark, it adjusts for things that are too light. You can focus in on one part of the painting and then it looks beautiful, right? Especially as the artist, because you have this idea of what it's supposed to look like. And so you kind of overlay that on top of the painting. So it's really hard to see it from an objective point of view. But a phone is the most critical observer of your art that you can find. So.
That's interesting. And so have you done that where you'll take a photo and then you'll go and you're looking at it and go, this needs some work here?
Yeah, because you also see it all squished in and really tiny. So you're able to see errors in composition also really well, because what looks good big does not always look good small, you know, in terms of balance of the tones and the overall composition of the painting. Because the painting should look really good in black and white, right? It doesn't look good in black and white or as a tiny thumbnail, then the painting it doesn't have a strong enough composition.
Will you literally take out all the saturation in the phone photo to look at it in a Grissel and a black and white?
I don't do that. I do squint. I'll squint at it. And so that kind of takes out the color. And then the other thing is when it goes to my scan room, which is all blacked out in there's like black walls and it's all black and dark in there. And I lean it against the wall. And then sometimes I'll walk in and I'll look at it and it's in very dim light. So I can't see the color. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, there's this horrible error in the painting. And I'll grab it off the wall and take it back to my studio. And my poor assistant is like, I was about to scan that.
Sorry, new painting. So for those who have just joined us and we just kind of jumped into it, Erin Hanson is here today, and You're a wonderful artist and one that I represent and periodically get some paintings, which is lovely because basically I'm the only one I think gets any paintings ever.
That's true.
But I would
Yep.
I would like to know, and I'll talk about how that happened, but I'd like to know a little bit more about you and how you grew up. And of course I know your bio, and it's clear that you had a passion and a love for this really early on, right?
Yep. I I think like a lot of kids, you always want to be an artist. I think that's a dream of a lot of kids. And so I was young, and I went to a little private school, and I was able to take oil painting lessons at age 8, and I studied watercolor and acrylics and all the different mediums, and
I'm going to
always
stop.
kind of held on to that.
I'm going to stop you for 1 second. I just realized, I wonder if I'm showing on my part of the screen.
You
Can
aren't.
see? Oh,
I
yeah, that
can't see
might be
you.
good to fix. Let me do this a second.
Okay.
After 150 of these, I should know better. So, well, this will be fun for the very first part of this video. You'll just see Erin because I wasn't in it. And yeah, that's good. 155 podcasts, and I'm just realizing, hey, I'm not in this thing. What's going on? So but we'll still go back to where we were, which is
Okay.
when you've always enjoyed this as a child. And you made the statement that every kid really wants to be an artist. So I don't know if that's true. I wish it were true. I don't think they get exposed enough to do it, unfortunately, in our system. But you clearly had some kind of real love for this, right?
I did. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I suppose, I don't know that every child wants to be an artist per se, but they all children, they create, they draw, or at least kids I saw when I was growing up, all kids want to draw with crayons and markers and coloring books. And I guess whether or not it's nurtured or and expanded with the kids, they might decide to take it up as a career. And trust me, it was pretty much beaten out of me by the time I graduated high school. I got told by dozens of different adults that it was way too hard to make a living as an artist. And I even apprenticed as a 12-year-old. I apprenticed in a mural studio that was across the street from my school. And I worked nights and weekends there, and worked for about 4 years with these guys. And they all told me that being an artist was a terrible career choice.
Mm-hmm.
And that I would regret it. And being very smart and high IQ, I decided to go become a doctor. So I started off at pre-med at UC Berkeley, and ended up with a degree in bioengineering, but decided I didn't want to do that because I worked for a few professors in college, and it was just pretty mind-numbingly boring on the day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And a lot of politics and administration, and I just wasn't a game I wanted to play. So I graduated really not knowing what I was going to do. So I started a business that was just a business. It wasn't anything special. I was buying and selling stuff on eBay and Amazon and Craigslist, and ended up that supported me while I was a fledgling artist, and allowed me to take 4 years to build up my career enough that I could support myself as an artist.
Well, let's back it up because there's a lot there to unpack. And one of the things, yep, I worked from 12 to 16 in a studio, right? How did that happen? I mean, that's not a common thing. I've never heard an artist do that, actually.
Yeah, well, this private school I went to, Delphi Academy, there was an LA school. They really push apprenticeships with kids, because kids, they think they want to do something, but then you go out and you actually do it in real life, and you just realize you hate it. So instead of waiting until you've graduated from college to decide that you don't want that as a career, you start early. So I apprenticed as a vet. I also was interested as being a veterinarian, so I did that for a couple years. And these all started out as apprenticeships and turned into paid positions, because I was a hardworking young kid. And like at the vet, it was me and the only there was one other doctor, and we held the vet open, and we were the only vet open in the evenings in La Crescenta. Mm-hmm. And we had every emergency animal come in, and I was I was probably 13, 14, And I answered the phones, I handled all the meds, I brought all the kids, the dogs and stuff into their rooms, I cleaned up all the blood on the floor, I, helped the doctor in emergency surgery, I did all this stuff as a 14-year-old. And I really loved that, but I didn't really see myself doing that for the rest of my life. And so I decided not to be a vet. And I think at that point, that's when I decided just to go pre-med and work with people. And I never had a chance to intern as a doctor. But I did, when I was in college, I had one of my cousins is a doctor, and I hung out with him for a week. And that was pretty much what decided me not to become a doctor.
Yeah. They're getting beeped and going all the time and complaining and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. No, I get it. I worked as an
really good in
orderly.
theory.
Yeah. I worked as an orderly for like 3 years. And I thought, oh yeah, well, I knew I didn't want to be an orderly. And nursing wasn't it. And I thought, yeah, I want to be a doc. I think this is the right thing. But even then, right? So you still don't know, something else can grab you, and it does.
Yeah. Sometimes. And I love studying. I mean, I love acquiring knowledge and studying biology and science and math is all fascinating to me. But then it's funny because it's different when you go out in real life and you have to actually have a career in that.
What did your folks think because you were doing the vet stuff and you were doing this other stuff for art? What was their take or not take?
They always supported my desire to be an artist, but I think that they were much happier when I decided to go the science route and go to college. And they just wanted, we grew up, struggling in the 80s, and there was a recession, and there were many nights we had beans and rice for dinner. And, they wanted to make sure that I would have a good start and be able to support myself. And I wanted that also. I was the oldest of 4 kids.
Yeah.
And
what did they do?
I wanted a good life.
What did your folks
do?
My
dad is a computer programmer, and my mom was a school teacher. She taught at the school that I went to.
Oh, nice. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Or well, it probably wasn't at that time. You probably wish she wasn't there as a kid.
No, it was great. It was
in retrospect.
It was great having my mom there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there was something there you just said, no, that's not it.
Yeah. And it was great that the school let me kind of cross some stuff off my list, so that when I was, in my early 20s out of college and didn't know what to do, I could at least say, okay, I don't want to do these things. And what do I want to do? What do I really want? If I didn't have to worry about money, well, it would be painting, And so I moved to Vegas, and I ran into selling with these rock climbers.
Yeah.
Why Vegas? Well, that's kind of a long story.
Okay. So
I'll make it as short as I can.
Yeah, I understand. So there was an individual that you followed to Vegas with.
Well, yeah, I was more escaping from an individual.
Okay.
But basically I had this business. I was buying storage units and reselling them before. It's kind of like Storage Wars, but I was doing it before that TV show came out and everyone knew about it. And that TV show Storage Wars came out when I was living in LA, and it just blew up the market, and all these people started coming to these auctions. And I decided to leave because this was like my livelihood, and I was either Phoenix or Vegas, and Vegas was a little bit closer. And I thought, because this is horrible, but because people were gambling, that they would be more likely to default on storage units.
It makes sense.
That's my business-minded decision to move to Vegas.
But that's a very rational thing to think.
Yeah, yeah.
How in the world did you get into that? I mean, there has to be a story, right? I mean, you just didn't go, I think I'll do this.
I ran one of the jobs I held after graduating was I ran an eBay drop-off store. Remember, like in the early 2000s? Yep, everything, you drive down, you see eBay, there are all these eBay stores, and you could come and you'd bring your mom's necklaces and your antique China dolls, and they would sell them for you and take 30% commission. So I ran one of the stores, which was awesome because I learned so much about business there and how to market products and how to research projects. And I learned a lot of things like photography, Photoshop editing, basic, research that actually was really valuable to me later when I became an artist.
So you did, and how long did you do the eBay store for?
So I worked for that business for a couple of years, and then I decided I would be better off doing it myself. So that was when I first started my own business. And I was just looking for stuff to sell. So I was looking at auction sites and just buying stuff. And I came across these storage unit auctions in the newspaper and showed up, I'm like the only girl with, and the only girl, all men
Right.
at these storage units. And I'm 20 years younger than everyone else there. And I show up in my old beat up yellow pickup truck and I just start buying storage units. And I mean, I've hauled hundreds and hundreds of refrigerators, stoves, giant king size mattresses, just anything and everything you'd find inside a storage unit. I have seen it and I've bought it because I did that business for 2 or 3 years. And and then that supported me.
Yeah, so you must have gotten good at being able to open a unit, look and say, okay, this is what I hope to. And I assume you're trying to maybe like triple your money on something like that with any luck?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can always sell the stuff for something. I mean, I did 2 swap meets every weekend where you show up at 4 a.m. and you set up your swap meet, and at 7 a.m. sharp, the swap meet opens, and then all the people crowd in and you sell your silverware and your whatever you're selling and tools and different things that you can't sell on eBay because they're just not valuable enough. Right. And that was another great thing I learned that became useful as an artist, because when artists come to me for advice on how to make a living as an artist, I say, go do art festivals. And they hate hearing that, but it is how you start off as an artist. You go do art festivals, and art festivals is all about early morning, long hours traveling, setting up your own show, hauling heavy things around. And I got a lot of practice at that in the storage unit business. So I like to think my whole life has led up to me doing this.
Well, it has actually. That's the interesting point. And that's really why I like to get kind of in the nitty and the gritty, because you find out how you got to do what you're doing. And already it makes more sense why you can do a business, your own art, and sell it while others haven't, because you've paid your dues and other things. You've learned, one, what to buy and sell and what price structure should be for things. Right. And you also know about dead inventory, things that you can't sell, and this is a problem, and all those kind of things, and hard work. Did you have any great finds in that time as the storage thing? You did it for 2 or 3 years.
I found like the like the second Barbie doll that was ever made. So that was cool. That sold for like $700 for like a little doll. And then I found this book that was, after I researched it, sold for like $20,000 or something. But I didn't actually get to keep the money because at that time I was selling it for someone else and taking a commission. And because I basically became an eBay store for everyone else in the storage unit business, because I was the only one who knew how to do eBay, because these are all like, older men.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, so they would give me all their stuff they thought was valuable, and I would sell it for them on eBay and take 30% commission. Anyway, so one of these things was this book, and when he saw the price starting to skyrocket, he came and took it away from me.
It was on eBay?
It was on eBay, yep. It was this it was one of these, it was a religious text that, with this one sect of, I want to say Mormonism, they had to have a copy of the book in the church to be able to preach this.
Right.
And so these copies were extremely valuable. And it was one of those books.
Did you cut that guy off? Never sold anything for him?
Yeah, I ended up, and it was another good lesson to learn. I usually don't work with other people in my business. I trust myself and I trust the people who work for me, and we have our policies and the way we do business. And, it's easy to get burned, I guess.
Yeah, because that's really, well, if he had a contract, he couldn't do that, but it was very unethical.
Well, sure. Yeah. I don't really do contracts because I believe that, if you can't look someone in the eye and trust the person, then they're going to screw you over one way or another. You know what I mean? Like, contract isn't really going to hold someone to the line. They can get out of a contract. I've been screwed over by contracts that I thought I understood.
Yeah.
That's why I'll never license my art again, because I got completely screwed by a contract. Anyways, I feel like contracts are there to make it so that you can do something unethical instead of trying to protect the innocent. You know, innocent people aren't walking around with contracts to sign. You know what I mean?
Well,
the contracts are built by people who are trying to protect themselves, not protect you. You know what I mean?
Well, it is true. I mean, so at least with our artists, for instance, we don't do like, we're going to only represent you and no one else can, and those kind of things. I don't do that kind of stuff. And it's like, if you're not happy, leave. If I'm not happy, I leave. You know,
that's why I believe doing business, you know, and you know, we have a dead file in our CRM system. And when collectors, we don't like working with collectors, we dead file them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We'll complete the transaction and then we put them in the file. That means they never get promoted to again. They never receive an email from us. No one's allowed to call them.
Yeah.
And we did, because it's like, well, we have to have some control over who we do business with.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So did you consider at any point going, I could be really good at this. I could get all these other things, all these other dealers stuff, and really make a good living just doing what you were doing with eBay and storage lockers. Did you ever consider making that as a profession? I mean, I know it's hard. I understand it.
Well, no, because there's a limit to what one person can do in that business. And the second I started painting, well, it took a few years, but I realized that every hour I was spending buying and selling on eBay as opposed to painting, I was losing money.
Yeah, you were.
And yep. So when I finally realized, that took about 4 years, and he's now my husband, but back then he's just my live-in boyfriend. And he was just like, you need to just quit this business and just do art full time. And I really resisted it because I felt like I needed that as my pillow to fall back on, because I didn't trust myself to be able to support myself as an artist, you know. And I was probably making like 30 grand a year or something like that at the time. And that's not enough to really live on. And I was doing, 8 festivals a year or something like that. That was all I was doing, and I was still trying to do my painting a week, sometimes I would, sometimes I wouldn't. And I didn't have all my focus on that. But I would come back for a show and I would have sold, 6, 7 paintings and made way more in that one weekend than I was making buying and selling eBay stuff,
Right.
And finally I just decided I took my whole business and I gave it all away. I gave it to my parents, actually. I said, here's all my inventory. I had a 3-car garage full of boxes of like t-shirts, because I also started like a wholesale business on the side. So I was actually buying imports in cases and then reselling them individually, right, on Amazon and stuff. And this was like in addition to the storage unit stuff I was doing. I was just, I love business. It's really fun. It's really fun to me. And I love the business of art, especially. It's so fun because I get to like do promo and magazines and books and come up with and design websites. I designed my first 3 websites by myself. I learned HTML from scratch and just wrote my first website out of HTML. And then eventually they had these like kind of drag and click websites like Wix and stuff that I started using. Yeah, where they would have templates and you would just pop your images in. But then I ended up wanting something different. So now my current website has been custom designed for me from scratch. Actually, my brother wrote the program, and I actually now employ him full time as a full time programmer.
Yeah.
But it's just fun. It's like the business. It uplifts people and it brings beauty to your life. And I don't know. I love it.
And so when did you go, this is it, I need to be a painter? I mean, I assume you must have been painting somewhat while you were doing these other businesses. When you were doing the storage stuff, were you doing art at that time? And if you were you doing it for yourself or to sell, or both?
I had a very distinct aha moment. It was when I was driving to Vegas, and I don't know if you've driven from Southern California to Vegas on the 15 there. It's very stark, open desert, and you see the buttes in the distance and stuff. And I actually, one of the things I was escaping from was I used to smoke pot, and I'd broken up with this boyfriend who was a pothead, and I just decided, I actually smoked the last bowl I ever smoked there in the car and threw my pipe and the weed and everything and the lighter out the window while I was driving out. I don't tell this to people. I probably shouldn't be talking about this in the podcast, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
And I was looking around at the landscape and just like, I was just like, I'm making a big change in my life. I'm moving to a new city. I'm not going to do drugs anymore. I'm going to I want to start painting again. And I did not make this decision thinking I would be able to make a living at it. I just wanted to start painting again because it had been many years since I had painted. And so I decided I would paint landscapes because before I had painted all sorts of stuff, people, animals, buildings, I didn't have any kind of a style or anything. So I made this decision. That night I got to my apartment in Vegas. It was like on a Friday night about 8 p.m. and the electricity hadn't been turned on. And so I didn't know where to stay. And I was by myself. I didn't know anyone in the city. Everything I owned was tied to the top of my pickup truck, including my mattress, which was like flopping around in the wind. And so I go, okay, I type, I look around. This is like before iPhones or anything. So I open up a Thomas guide, right? And I find the nearest campground and I drive there, and it was Red Rock Canyon out on the outskirts of Vegas. And I camped out, got there, it was pitch black. I camped. I woke up this morning, I said, I'm going to be true to my decision. I'm going to do a painting. So I pulled my easel and everything was right there in my truck with everything I owned. I pulled it out. I got my old box of paints. I climbed to the top of the hill just as the sun came up, and I saw Red Rock Canyon for the first time. And it was just amazing. I'd never seen Red Rock Desert ever before. I grew up in Southern California, and it was just beautiful. So I took out all my cadmium paints and I laid it out loud. I was like, I need oils for this. It's so colorful. And I did this tiny little plein air painting. And that was the first open impressionist painting, because the technique that I used to paint those rocks, and I did it in the plein air techniques that I use, that is my style. And that's what I've continued to do. So actually my neighbors at the campground, those were rock climbers, and we met each other and they needed a place to stay. They had just moved here from New York to rock climb Red Rock Canyon. And I said, well, why do you guys stay with me? I don't know anyone in the city. Why don't we all be friends? And so we ended up getting an apartment closer to Red Rock Canyon on the other side of Vegas. And we all moved in together. And they taught me how to rock climb. These guys were professional climbers, and they got me to climb up to a 512, be able to lead a 512 sport climb. And I was great shape at the time. And so I was always out in this landscape, and I started doing a painting a week. This was kind of my mantra I took up at the time. I said, I'm going to do a painting a week. I'm not just trying to sell my work. I just want to become a better painter. And I painted nothing but desert, rocks, and Joshua trees for a whole year. And finally I decided, okay, these are good enough. I wouldn't mind if someone else saw them. And I started researching how might I sell these paintings, and I came across finally this art festival in this little town outside of Vegas. And that was my first art festival. And I just did a show. I sold 6 paintings. I was charging like $300 a piece. I didn't know what to charge for them. I didn't care, and that was the beginning of my career.
How old were you at that time?
23, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So you're really young.
Yeah.
And so for the next few years, you do the eBay / buy storage units and paint and climb as much as you can.
Yeah, exactly.
And then did you have another?
And then eventually I found my way. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, did you have another aha moment at some point where you go, okay, this is it? I mean, that was.
I think the next aha moment was just when Paul, my boyfriend at the time, talked me into doing it full time.
Yeah.
And I went all in.
I bet.
I went, okay, because I worked 80 hours a week. That's what I did. I work. That's what I love to do. And I said, okay, I'm putting 80 hours a week into being an artist. So I spent, 40 hours of that painting, 20 hours of that on the road doing shows, 20 hours of that doing learning marketing, improving my website, doing publishing, doing the marketing side of being an artist. And I tell you, there's nothing like talking to tens of thousands of people about your work and just all the hard lessons that you learn that artists don't like to learn, which is why artists go through galleries.
Right.
Right. And but learning that the hard way, you learn how to become not only an artist, a better artist, but you learn how to market yourself.
Do you think it's a good route for most artists to try to do what you're doing? versus a gallery
I mean,
sponsor?
it depends on their goals. You know, some artists are happy, they want to just be at home and paint, and they're okay with making, you know, 30, 40 grand a year. And then they're happy with that. You know, I was not happy with that. I want to get to the top. I want to be the best
Yeah.
that I can be. And I know that I'm capable, and, you know, I want to be the best, you know, if I can. And I guess the next aha moment after that was realizing that I cannot become the best by myself. I have to let parts of my business go, and I have to hire other people. And that's when I started hiring people, because I remember I spent an entire day making thank you books. Everyone who buys a painting from me gets a book of my work with a nice handwritten card and some promo. And it took me all day long because I let it fall behind a little bit, to put all these thank you books together. And I was like, this is menial labor. I could pay someone $15 an hour to do this for me. And I could have painted, at the time, a $3,000 painting or something in a day. So, I just realized that I needed help, and I started hiring people, and it took a long time to get good employees. I ended up hiring a lot of my own family members. So I have 3 family members who work for me full time. One's my brother, and the other 2 are sisters-in-law. And the rest are people that I know very well and I trust, and that are in it for the long haul with me.
Yeah.
And yeah, we built up a whole organization.
Well, I met your work through, actually, one of the museum docents came to my gallery and said, I want you to look at this person's work. And they had one of your books, of your paintings. And it was a beautiful book. It was a nice hardback book. And I was like, I remember they sent it to me, or they sat down with me, and I go, sure. And then I started going through it, and I was like, well, damn, this person can paint. I've never heard of this person. Let me see that. And I was like, okay, that's a hell of a good reference. So you really brought something to me that I think is really good. I can see it all. And so I contacted you and said, hey, this is how it is. I would love to show your work. You clearly have something that's because you have this unique, different style. You can see I think you can see the emotion, you can see the joy. The colors are just uniquely yours. Yeah, I mean, you can pick out one of your paintings a mile away. And it's not, though you're an incredibly gifted, I think, as a business person, what you're doing in marketing, but I think people have to need to understand, listening to you, also have the skill set and the chops of a really great artist as well. It's not just that. Just so happens you have both, which I do think is exceptionally rare. Actually, I really do think it's exceptionally rare. Very few people can do it. William Matthews in Colorado and Denver, who's a watercolorist, I think he has that capability. There's some people that have been able to do it, but not many. Yeah. And as you said, it took you a while, I'm sure. And so when did you start doing those books? Because they're beautiful books.
See, I think I did my first one in, I want to say 2014 or something, maybe a little earlier. So I needed enough paintings to fill a book. And the first one I published, my brother actually did the InDesign layout. And, it's okay. It's Open Impressionism Volume 1, which is not even in print anymore. And then I learned a lot from that, and then went, the one that you saw probably is Open Impressionism Volume 2 with the orange cover, with the fall colors on the cover. Yeah, so that was done with a professional layout designer who I still work with to this day, and yeah, I mean, and everything just improved. Like my photography, I used to photograph my paintings with a little power shot, little handheld little camera, and finally went to like an SLR camera many years later, like 10 years later. And so a lot of my early work, I don't have good photography of, which is really too bad. And then I increased every year, trying to get better and better at the photography of the work. I mean, I can look at one of my prints and tell you what year that was from based off the shadows and how it was photographed. And finally built my own indoor studio. And then even that wasn't good enough. And that's what brought me to the scanning thing. And now I scan my work in 3D, in 3 dimensions. And that led me then to 3D printing. But I found a flatbed scanner that you don't put the painting face down on the scanning bed, it works great for watercolors and sketches, but for textured oil painting, it damages the painting. And then also the light comes at 90 degrees to the painting. And so you get no shadows, and it just washes it out. So I found a scanner where the painting goes on top and the lights actually move on top like this. And the light comes from the side, and you can control the direction and how far away the light is coming from. So little shadows get cast. And if you look on my website, all my recent work done in the past year was all photographed using the scanner. And they're very high resolution. So I can print large with them, which is another problem I was running into. And then I was able to standardize it, because I had to do all my own photography, because even though I tried to train like 3 different people to do it, no one else could really see when it was correct or not. You know, it's just me as an artist. I can say this is a good photograph that accurately represents the painting. This scanning machine has standardized that. I now have someone else who photographs the paintings for me with the scanner. I still do the final color adjustment, just because that's something that can't be taught, you know, and I am the artist and I know when the photograph is correct. But we have just recently, we moved to Oregon. I'm leasing an 18,000 square foot pair of buildings. It's as long as a football field, my facilities now. And half the building is set up to make prints. So that was something I was really excited about moving to Oregon, was I wanted to bring my printmaking in-house. So I've always outsourced it, and I've always had the troubles you deal with when you're dealing with other companies who don't have your standards. They can't rush stuff for you, that you can't do anything special for your customers. You know, if someone needs something tomorrow, you can't do that. You're on a 3-week, you know, you're at the end of the queue. They're dealing with like 100 different clients, you know, and it was just too hard, you know. And so I just wanted to bring it in-house. Plus I wanted to control the quality. And I started doing this 3D printing, and it was really exciting. And I wanted to get my own 3D printer. So we actually just got our 3D printer last week. I've had my scanner for a year. We have a 3D printer now. We've been doing our own canvas printing all year since we moved in here. And it's really fun.
And so you do declays and you do canvas printings. And then do you do anything other besides those?
I just do the 3D printing and then the canvas printing, which is technically a giclée.
Yes.
A giclée is just a digital print.
Yes. And so you can do it in any size, basically, that a client wants. And do you have so if you make a painting, and your paintings are, you know, they're quite valuable. So you do a painting, then you make you do a photo of it, and then you do a giclée of that, and you limit, do you limit the number of giclées that you do of that image?
I don't limit the giclées. We do limit the 3D print.
I see.
Yeah, so we limit those to 100 per painting.
I see. And then you have these available that people can actually just buy online. Can they buy it directly off your website? You want to plug your website? Plug your website.
Sure. It's www.erinhanson.com.
And we'll put this in the YouTube as well. But yeah, you can get these things. Now, my first thought as being a business person, and I know you are as well, just as much as anyone, just as much as I am. You've got 18,000 square feet. You got people there. You've got the material. Why not do it for other artists?
Well, you know, believe it or not, I can keep an 18,000 square foot facility so busy, we wouldn't possibly have time to deal with other artists. I mean, you should see my guys. They run at top speed. Yeah. We have a lot of production going through here. We have a print sale once a month, and we sell at least 50 prints. And getting those out within a couple weeks is very hard. And now we have our 3D printer. I also produce 5 original oil paintings a week. Each one of those canvases needs to get stretched for me. We're now doing my own stretching in-house. They need to get framed, varnished, packaged, and shipped. I also just bought a CNC machine. I don't know if you know what those are. They're those really big table saws that cut out signage and cardboard. So I just ordered it from China. It's on its way here, and it's going to custom make boxes for me. So just put a piece of cardboard down and cut out a custom sized box that will fit exactly around all our prints and paintings so that we can save a lot of money on boxes and stuff, and actually keep the paintings and prints much safer. Because right now, the way we're doing it, it's the best we can do through Uline, what they offer to ship art in. But this is it's upping our game, and I'm always upping our game. We got this article. I have this on my desk.
Yeah.
I was featured in this article, American Lifestyle. It's a magazine that's sent out by like realtors and stuff, and it featured me. We didn't even know this was happening. I had this like 8-page spread here in the middle, and we got more business from this than any other single promotional action I've ever done. So what do? I bring over my marketing team and I say, we are going to publish one of these, and that's what we're doing right now. So we're going to call it Art and Home. We're going to send one to every single person who buys a home over $1 million in the US once a month. And it's going to have, it's going to have an article about art and wine, making your own cheese boards. We're interviewing a bunch of interior designers, so we're going to feature their stuff in here. We'll of course have an article about me in there. Sure. And we're basically going to duplicate what works and replicate it. So that's what I do in my business. Something works, we do more of it. But it's this constant, I have all these ideas and then they didn't get executed, so trust me, I keep my team very busy.
And so do you have a person that's in charge of marketing and content? Because I did a magazine for 10 years, Canyon Road Arts. And then I now do one that's just an online magazine, Essential West, which we do every week. We publish a new article, but we don't do the publishing. The other one we actually published and did all that. I know all that's involved in that. But the hardest part is content, right? That's really good content. So what do you do?
Yeah, exactly. And the other mags that we did, which you have an article, you have an ad in this one, Mark. So this is the magazine, and it took so long to get this content together.
Yes.
It took months. It's all about Impressionism. We have Van Gogh.
Yes.
It, happens to mention my work towards the end. And it took 3 months, and it's going to take 3 months to do this new match. But so what we're doing though is we're just doing one issue. You know what I mean? We're not going to make it this ongoing thing. So this is now a promotional tool that we use. Everyone who expresses interest in my work gets what we call a shock and awe box, which has my book, it has the magazine, it has my different flip books in it. I have these various flip books and all of our promo, and they get this really nice custom box. And it just really puts the importance of my work there and educates them on me, Anyway, so yeah, but I agree with you. Publishing a magazine is no joke.
Yeah. And it's expensive.
Yeah, it is.
Talking a lot of money especially with what you're wanting to do, every house over $1 million. How many houses is that? Do you know?
It's about 10,000 a month. But, I got the cost down to about $1 a piece, plus maybe 70 cents for shipping. It's we did almost 3 million last year in painting sales.
Yeah.
So we have the budget for stuff like this, and we tend to be smart about it. And then, like I said, do what works. Don't go chasing what we think is going to work, but just focus on what does actually bring new people in, get new eyes on my paintings, and that's why I still have the gallery in Carmel. It's been there for 2 years now.
Yes. And
it's great. It's like having an art festival every weekend. We get about the same eyes on my work as it would be me going out and doing an art festival every weekend.
And where is it located in Carmel so people can go by and see it?
It's on San Carlos Street, just north of the main. I think it's called Main Street.
Yeah. And it's just all your art, I assume?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you have a salesperson or a gallery manager that runs it, and it's open 5 or 6 days a week?
Yep.
Have you ever considered doing other artists? I'm just curious because you have the things are there.
Again, it's just the same issue where they have their hands full dealing with me,
Yeah. No, I see. Yeah, because that's true. There is a point where you go, it's going to take a lot more energy and effort for me to do this. But you also could do it. There are opportunities there, no doubt.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Well, I tested it out a couple times actually. I went when I had my gallery in Glendale. I hosted a show with two of my other artist friends, and I saw my two best collectors not buy any art from me, and instead buy art from my two friends. And then neither of them ever bought anything from me again. And both of them were regular buyers. One of them had something like 18 of my paintings,
Yeah.
and the other one had like 12 of my paintings. So what I saw that was, okay, it doesn't work for me to, because I'm the powerhouse. Those artists don't have the kind of CF that I have, the same central files, the same addresso list. You know what I mean? So if I'm promoting it, I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot if I'm promoting another artist. You know what I mean? If those other artists had my kind of mailing list and we could come in and we could trade,
Right.
well, that's a different story. And
Right.
again, that's why I don't work with other galleries, because they do not have the kind of address list, yourself excluded, that I do. You know what I mean? They just don't. A lot of galleries don't do sales. They don't do follow-up calls. They don't even have a mailing list, a lot of them, and
Right.
it's kind of sad. I understand why they're going out of business now. During COVID,
Yeah.
we doubled our income during COVID because we were able to focus on sales and marketing, instead of the direct traffic that we were getting with walk-ins. And it's like, but most galleries don't do that.
No, they
You know?
don't. Yeah.
Each salesperson's kind of on their own and kind of acting, autonomously. And if the gallerist is lucky and can get a great salesperson, then that's awesome. But salespeople are, and that's another thing I did in my business. I actually personally started studying sales tech. I read every book I could get my hands on about selling, right? And I found about 6 books that I felt like were the best books about how to sell, like without being pushy, doing more of a soft sell thing, not, more like guiding people to finding the right art, not being
Right.
a hard sell or anything like that and scaring them off. And every new salesperson I have 3 full-time salespeople, and they all get trained in that sales method, and we drill it constantly every week. We're drilling it, we're improving it, we're making sure we're doing our follow-ups, we're prospecting, we're doing all the things that need to be done in sales. And I'm not going to trust that a gallery would do that for me.
Yeah. They probably wouldn't, quite frankly.
Right.
Most
Yeah.
of
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, you
So.
can, by focusing on your own business and your own art, you're able to put that kind of energy and effort into making sales. And I think, artists that may listen to this might go, well, this is all about sales. Well, yeah, in a way that's a part of the thing, you can create, but if you can't get it out to people and you can't sell it, then you may not be able to continue to create.
Right.
And people don't find your art. Again, I'm going to reiterate this. You are an extremely good artist and you make really good art. Happy to have it in my home. And, but you have managed to figure out that this is also a business, and that,
right.
There are certain things that to be successful in business that you have to do. And you're doing them in spades. In fact, I think a lot of gallerists listening to this, all those art galleries, guys and girls that are listening to this, you could probably learn a lot from listening to how Erin does her business and takes it seriously and works on those kind of things. One other area, and I don't know if you've gotten into it yet, but I'm sure you will at some point, I have no doubt of it, in fact, is NFTs. Have you been investigating this yet? I assume you have.
My husband has been trying to get me to do this. I have said I don't understand what the exchange is there, and my valuable final product in my organization is art hanging in homes,
right,
beautifying and enriching people's lives. So that is what we all gear our energy towards. And an NFT, right? That's what it is.
Yeah.
What's the exchange? Like, what product am I giving to the world with that? I don't know.
Your daughter and those that are, younger are going to be very involved and already are in metaverses. So areas, these are environments and worlds to their own on the internet. And they're going to have their own art galleries in there. They're going to have their art. They're going to have their homes. They're going to have all these kind of things. And they're going to show off their art. And, they already show off their art on their phones. by going, look what I have, look what I do, this is it. So it's a real thing. And it's going to continue to increase. I mean, you have crypto punks that are selling for $500,000 now. You know, you have people that sold for 69 million. You know, it's a real thing that's not going away. And you know,
Yeah.
you may not be there yet, but you will be soon, because I know you will be.
Yeah.
Because that is how people are going to collect and display things. And your art actually
Yeah.
fits nicely, I think, for a younger generation, because of, you know, it has this, you know, vibrant colors and emotional driven and beautiful imagery, and, you know, it just would work. You know, if you
Yeah.
have a hotel on a metaverse of your own metaverse, right, you might want to put one of your NFTs on there that's, you know, our original one. So your husband's,
Interesting.
your husband's correct.
He's been right about a lot of things.
Yeah, he is correct. But I would highly encourage you to look into that. I mean, we're following it very closely. We understand it.
Yeah.
You know,
Have you tried it yourself with any of your artists?
well, I haven't done it yet, but I've been involved with blockchain for about the last 3 years. So I understand, you know, how blockchain works. I understand how non-fungible tokens, NFTs, work and function. And yes, it will happen at some point. We will be doing that. And, you know, it hasn't yet, but it will happen for sure. And I haven't bought one yet, but that probably will happen as well. My son's been trying to get me to buy a crypto punk, you know, and he says, you know, there were $100,000 for a crypto punk. And I was like, I'm
Oh
not
my
spending
gosh.
$100,000, and now they're $500,000. And he's like, see,
Right.
and I'm like, well, I don't understand them completely. So until I understand things completely, I'm not going to pay $100.
Right.
But it is something that because, and I could go on and on of the marketing things that you could do with it from a marketing standpoint is over the top. You could give NFTs to your best clients as, you know, something that really will have value that you're giving them for free. And if you can sell a digital image of your painting for X amount, which could be fairly significant, and you didn't have to do anything but put it on a platform and sell it, that's kind of found money, quite frankly. And you have all the paintings that you've ever done that you could do this with. And
Right.
so, I mean, you have, and the beautiful thing about NFTs for artists, and I think it's a really wonderful thing, is that you can write smart contracts with these. So anytime anybody wants to sell one of your NFTs, your paintings, you get, and they resell it to somebody, you get part of the resale. So you get a 10%.
Really?
Yeah, you can get 10 or 15% of the sale every time forever, because it's listed on the blockchain. So yep. So, you know, every time somebody sells one, you're going to get money. And all your paintings will probably need to go on a blockchain anyway, just because it's a way for provenance and security. All of that should start being listed on blockchain. So, so
you're intriguing me, Mark.
no, I knew as a business person, I knew as a business person and as an art person, as an artist, that all of these would have components of that. I will make a prediction now that you will have an NFT set up within 1 year, almost guaranteed that you will.
All right. I think you might be right there. See, I put it on a Post-it note.
Yeah.
That means it's going to happen.
No, it's just perfect for you. And it'll work. And there's a lot of things you can do from a marketing standpoint as well that you could do. There's just immense numbers of things. I mean, including your magazine, you know, you should have an NFT section in there. What are NFTs and and scan this and, enter the chance to get an NFT, one of my original NFTs. And they have value. I mean, they may not seem like they have value at this moment, but trust me, they do have value, and they may have a lot of value in the future.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think that was my main concern, is that they had no value, and it was more of like the stock market or something, you know, where I mean, I guess stocks have value, but it was all about perceived value and didn't have any actual physical universe value. But now that you've explained that, so people, I've never heard that word metaverse before.
Yeah. Well, that's where everyone's going to live. you know, all these kids are, and that's already being developed, you know, that
Yeah.
you enter into your cyber world, and you know, you
Yeah.
have art galleries and all sorts of things. People do what they want to do, you know, and it's a
Yeah.
place, you have your avatar, which is you, which can be
Yeah.
better than maybe who you are, and it'll be
Yeah.
a definite thing. And so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Huh.
they most definitely have value. And as individuals see it differently, the next generation, this is going to, you know, it's all, like you said, it's perceived value, but, you know,
Right.
is a, you know, a Fendi bag perceived value than versus a knockoff?
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
right. And if you can't tell visually, but I tell you, yes, this is an original, you go, well, the same
Right.
with an art. I mean, this is one
Huh.
of your paintings, you know, and you only have, I mean, you can set up more than one of one, but, you know, it's like, okay, this is a, you know, your NFTs, quite frankly, at this point, are probably rarer than your prints, because
Right.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you're one of 100, and you know, with your NFTs, it
Yeah.
may be one of one. So,
Right.
you
Right.
know, if
Right.
you ask me right now, would I rather have
Okay.
a print or an NFT? I'll take an NFT.
Really?
I would,
Wow.
for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
So yeah, so there's a whole new world of marketing to go. So can people visit your gallery in Oregon, the one that's the 18,000 square feet? Is there, do you have open
Hmm.
hours and that kind of stuff?
Yep, we have a whole beautiful a retail gallery space nestled inside the warehouse. It has its own little entrance, and you go in there, and then yeah, people come in all the time. And we just had our grand opening. We had like 350 people here drinking wine and eating grapes,
Yeah, and where is it?
enjoying the art.
What city is it in? Where are you located?
It's in McMinnville, Oregon, which is about an hour west of Portland. Um, I moved out here because I want to send my daughter, who's two years old, to the same school that I graduated from, because you can see I'm really passionate about my education that I got, and
Right.
I want my daughter to have the same education. So there's the original Delphi school is actually up here in Oregon, about 20 minutes away from here, and yeah, it's this great school. It's on like 200 acres, and they learn horseback riding and get to do fun country stuff. And yeah, it's really great. And I just want to get out of the city and let my daughter grow up in the country a little bit.
Yeah,
It's
makes
been great.
sense.
I love it out here. Yeah,
Well, that's one of the beauties of being an artist, right? I mean, you can create and do whatever you want wherever you are.
it's
And
true.
and if you have a good website and you do all the stuff you do, and you do a blog as well,
Yep.
you know, people
Yep.
stay tuned. And what's your Instagram account for people who want to follow you that way?
I think it's Erin Hanson artist.
Okay.
I don't do my own social media. My marketing gal does that
I
for
mean, you don't have
me.
enough time to do that?
I haven't been on Facebook personally in a long time.
Yeah,
Let's see. I'm scrolling on my website here. Here we go. Pinterest.
yeah.
Erin Hanson art.
Erin Hanson art, yes. So kind of rounding it up here and finishing up, I think you probably have some really good ideas that you could tell artists. And maybe you could share just your thoughts. If you were a young artist in their early 20s who loves art, who's really wants to do it, how would they go about promoting them? What would you recommend to do to promote themselves, and if they're following kind of in the footsteps of what you've done?
Mm-hmm. Well, the best advice I can give any artist, young or old, is do one painting a week. If your current style doesn't allow for that, do small paintings.
Yes.
So the idea is that you need to learn how to paint, and you do that by painting. There is no shortcut to learning how to paint. I don't care how many YouTube videos you watch or books you read, you need to just paint a lot. Color theory, composition, value studies, all that is honestly, it comes from practice. And it is nice to have some theory as well to go with it, but you need to just practice. You're not going to learn guitar by watching YouTube videos. You have to sit there and get your calluses built up and get that muscle memory drilled in, and painting is the same thing. So do a painting a week and start doing art festivals if you can. It's a great way to start the whole marketing experience and understanding how to talk about your work. Because I believe there's a market for every type of art. You just have to learn who's looking for that and then put your work in front of them. You know what I mean? If what you love and what you're passionate about is painting kittens in a basket, say you just love cats and you love baskets and that is what you want to paint, by all means, paint that. Do not never change yourself as an artist because of marketing. Marketing is there to fit the public to you as an artist. So you need to find the public and how to word your work. What search terms are people using when they're looking for kittens in baskets? You know, is it cats? Is it kittens? Is it cute paintings? You know, you have to figure out what terminology is being used and how to. And doing art festivals is a great way to learn that, because people walk into your booth and start talking about your art with you, and you can learn what phrases and what words people use, and what makes them smile and be interested, and what makes them go okay and walk off. You know what I mean? You learn that the hard way, and you learn what printed material communicates the best. You just learn all sorts of good stuff, but it's not going to work by itself. You still have to do your painting a week, otherwise you're never going to improve as an artist, and you're also never going to have a big enough body of work to sell. You know, because out of every 50, let's say half of those is sellable. You have 25 paintings a year. You're selling them. You need to sell them for enough to make a living, basically, and that means you need to paint enough to make a living at it. And then you'll have the facilities to even grow as an artist. You know, take Monet. He was a wealthy artist, and he painted, you know, these water lily paintings that are huge, that took up, he needed a whole gallery, facility to paint these in, and all this expensive paint and expensive canvas. Take poor Van Gogh, who never sold like a single painting, or maybe one. And he was an excellent artist also, but his paintings were all small. And I bet he would have loved to do a big epic painting, you know, like Monet was doing at the time. And he never got the chance to, because he was a terrible marketer. You know what I mean? He didn't know how to market his work. And Monet was a fantastic business person.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that's one of the takeaways. There is nothing wrong with being a great business person and an artist. And you shouldn't shy away from, if you have that skill set, to use it. And if you don't toot your own horn, then, you know, why should I?
That's right.
You know, I mean, if you don't believe in it enough to really promote it yourself and let people know, then, you know, why should I? And I do think you're a rare bird in the sense that you can do this and you can do all this and you have those skill sets. Not, you know, that's not a common thing. It's very highly uncommon. But and so there's places for, generally there's going to be a place for galleries that will get into that. But if you don't get seen, if you don't get your marketing out there, then how am I going to, you know how to find you? I mean, Dennis Aminsky, who did illustrations for years, great things, Super Bowls, all these amazing New Yorker, all these kind of high brow illustrations, but he decided to become a fine artist. And the first thing he did is he ran a full page ad with Zaminsky.com or something like that, or Dennis Zaminsky in Southwest Art. And I noticed it and said, wow, that guy can paint. And he was smart enough to realize that, you know, he wanted people to see who he was and what he was before he started getting a gallery. And you know, it was like, and somebody introduced me to him, Francis Livingston, but the fact that it was in my brain and had seen it and go, I know who that, I saw an image of that. It was a fantastic, I can still remember the image actually. And so yes, don't be afraid to market. Don't be afraid to be an Erin. And if there's is there anything else you'd like to say before we have any shows coming up or anything else interesting you want to share with people?
I'm doing my annual petite show in my Carmel gallery this year, December 11th.
Okay.
So that'll be fun. I've never done, this is a big annual show I do. I do a bunch of small work, about 20 of them, maybe 30. And they're a nice price point right before Christmas. And but I'm going to do it in my satellite gallery this year instead of in my home gallery. So
very
that'll
nice.
be fun.
And I don't know if you know it, but you had a painting in the Maynard Dixon exhibit for 2 years, up for 2 years.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know it was for that long. That's great.
Yep. No, the pandemic gave it an extra year. So yes,
Great.
you got, and I had people call on that and say, who is this person? This is really great.
Wow,
Yeah. So,
that's awesome.
all right. Well, I'll let you go. Thank you for taking the time. And, I'll be following you on all your e-blasts and everything else. And we're thrilled to have you in our gallery. We don't get a lot, but things we do have, we love having your work. And I think you're a highly talented artist. And I love what you do. And I know there's lots of other things we didn't talk about, but we got kind of I think we got the main essence of you. And I expect 1 year
It's a
from
good
now
plus.
for you to be talking to me about your NFT business.
I'm already thinking about trading an NFT for you with you so that you could be my consultant on the matter.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. You know a lot about blockchain. I do work with a blockchain company actually. So
Really?
Oh yeah, I do. And we're actually working on an NFT platform, but it's not quite there. Yeah, they're getting ready to launch that fairly shortly. So yeah, it's real.
All right, the future has arrived.
Yes, it has, and you're there. You can show this to your daughter when she's 12, and she's like, "Oh, of course, Mom. What do you mean NFTs? That's all we want. Why do you still paint? Do it on the computer."
I know.
Right.
So true.
All
Yep.
right. Well, it's nice talking to you, and we'll see you.
Nice talking to you, Mark.
Bye bye.
Okay.